Greetings everyone and welcome back to the channel. Very important update on XRP and also on the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. Today, the 25th of March 2025, we can officially say there is nothing left for the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. There is absolutely nothing left to debate. And before we get on Stuart Alderoty's most recent update on the SEC lawsuit, which I would label it the final update, I want to make some personal comments on the SEC lawsuit. Today is a very special moment for XRP holders, so if you made it through the journey, first I want to say congratulations to you. You are a very patient and resilient individual. I think we have been put to the test. I have bought XRP. My largest sums of XRP were acquired exactly when the SEC lawsuit came out against Ripple. For me, that was an indicator that XRP would be at the epicenter of the new financial system, and most importantly, that XRP was not a security. I remind you, the SEC lawsuit against Ripple came out on the Christmas week on the 22nd of December of 2020. So we are talking about almost 5 years ago. It has been a very long and unique journey. Personally, I learned a lot about the legal system in the United States, even though I don't even live in the US. Today, we can finally say that both Ripple and the SEC agreed to drop their appeals. So it's 100% concluded. So let's see Stuart Alderoty's final update on the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. He writes, last week the SEC agreed to drop its appeal without conditions. Ripple has now agreed to drop its cross appeal. The SEC will keep 50 million of the 125 million fine, already in an interest-bearing escrow in cash, with the balance returned to Ripple. The agency will also ask the court to lift the standard injunction that was imposed earlier at the SEC's request, all subject to commission votes, drafting on final documents, and usual court processes. And then he finally concludes, that's all folks, in what should be his last update on the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. I am sure this lawsuit's going to be on the history books in the next generations to come. So if you have been following it closely, consider yourself part of history. Watching closely Stuart Alderoty's updates, we can conclude that the most important part of this communication is about the injunction. Financial institutions now can directly purchase XRP from Ripple. We can really conclude that Ripple has won the case. The fine has been reduced from $120 to $50 million, which in my opinion, I don't think that's going to be a problem for Ripple. Number two, the injunction is over. Green light for financial institutions to purchase XRP. And number three, which has been always the main victory, is the fact that XRP is not a security. As a matter of law, XRP is not a security, will never be, and the SEC lawsuit is officially over. I'm gonna break down the lack of action from XRP's price in face of the end of the SEC lawsuit. So first, I want you to understand that the victory was already priced in. So if you just zoom out, you will see that the market's already priced in Ripple's victory against the SEC. That explains why XRP has been one of the greatest performing assets of this entire bull run. And by far the most important aspect of this lawsuit was XRP to be considered not a security. So right now, what was in cause was just speculation. Considering that everyone was already expecting the price to go up, in other words, Ripple's victory was already priced in. You can look for XRP's chart, that's going to tell you everything you need to know. That doesn't mean the price is going to stagnate. In fact, I do expect XRP to hit beyond just $10 in 2025, considering right now we are the only digital asset fully regulated. And the fact that the SEC lawsuit is over, it's a weight that has been removed from our shoulders. We know there is not the suppression anymore from the lawsuit. I'm firmly convinced that's going to be the beginning of the institutional bull market, the notorious utility run that we have been waiting for the past 5 years. To sell your XRP now, because there was no price action in face of the end of the SEC lawsuit, that would be the equivalent of going out on a date, let's say with a beautiful 10, the woman of your dreams. You drive 2 hours to meet her in another city, you take her out for dinner, champagne, caviar, whatever it takes, spend $1,000 in total, and then it's getting late at about 4 a.m. She invites you over to her place. and because you are exhausted, you decide to drive back home with $1,000 less in your pockets and by not finishing what you have started. So think about that. I personally think now is the worst time to sell your XRPs. I truly hope this update was useful. And if you made this to the end, drop your XRP price predictions for 2025 so I know who are the real ones. Done. Thank you, everyone. And I'm gonna see you in the next video.